All right, welcome back. Another episode of the Digital Recruiter podcast. And today I am joined by Michael Malinowsky. He is the Director of Recruiting at Lean Energy Solutions. He is a started recruiting in the U.S. Army and now is on the agency side. He's kind of done. I think they're kind of done it all in recruiting. It has a wealth of experience. We just interacted a few months ago on LinkedIn, and I just something about the way we were interacting. Had a call to meet each other, and I was like, I think it'd be fun to get on record and just hear more about his background and share it with you, the listener. So here we are. And Michael, thanks for being here, man.
Hey man, I appreciate it. It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
And it is Lean Synergy Solutions, not Lean Energy Solutions.
Lean synergy. You know, it was one of those, like, I looked at it, I was like, synergy. And then what did I say when I hit record? Energy. So I psyched myself out. I'm sure there's some like technique, some mindset technique that I just screwed up that I didn't get right. But Lean Synergy Solutions. Excuse me. Thank you for correcting.
Right.
Yeah, because if we send people off
all things,
yeah,
all things working together for something much greater than what we are, right?
Absolutely. Amen to that. So, well, let's dive into it. There's a lot to cover in terms of just kind of recruiting, best practices, what you're seeing working. I know you got a lot of recs going on right now, and it can be a hit and miss market for some people. But let's kind of go back to the beginning. Like, how did you first get involved in recruiting?
Oh man, so recruiting kind of became I don't know, it was a life choice, if you will. A lot of recruiters don't find their way into the business the way I did, but in my Army career, I had spent, I don't know, the first 10 or 11 years of my career in communications, dealing with all IT kind of stuff. And then my wife and I decided that our kids were getting to an age where they were going into middle school. They were going to have those really important years of life. And I missed so much of their childhood that we decided, hey, we need to be around. We need to both be together for their middle school, high school years when they're really developing who they are at that point. So we spent a long time talking about it, and I decided to volunteer to be a Army recruiter. And I was like, all right, we're good. I'm stationed in Tampa at the time.
Yeah.
And we just decided, hey, let's try this recruiter thing, right? I may work long hours, may work weekends, may have to travel here and there, whatever the case is, but I'm going to be home just about every single night.
Yeah.
So whether I'm, working a late night with candidates, getting them ready to go to process, or just dealing with recruiter issues or whatever it is, right? Events that may happen. Either way, I'm coming home. I'm going to tuck my kids in. We can have dinner together most nights. So we made the jump, and they accepted my recruiting package, said, you know what, we'll take you. I moved to about 45 minutes-ish north of Orlando, little town called Leesburg. I ran their Army recruiting station there after about a year. So I started out as a recruiter, and I hate to toot my own horn, but I was so good at what I was doing that about a year later, I took over a recruiting station as the senior leader in that station. Had about 15 recruiters working for me there. Then a few years later, I moved to Charlotte, did the same thing again. From Charlotte, I decided, hey, we're getting close to retirement. So we decided we wanted to try to retire out west. So I called my branch manager, the people who control where you go, when you get your assignments, that kind of stuff. And lucky for me, they had an opening in Denver at the MEPS, or the Military Entrance Processing Station there. So I went and ran the MEPS in the Army office for a good amount of time, probably a year or so. And then I decided I wanted to retire. So they moved me out of the MEPS. I let somebody else take that position. But all in all, it became it was a life choice because we wanted things to be the way they were with our family. But I also found that it was something that I truly, truly loved doing. You know, people say that they get pulled into recruiting or they do certain jobs because they just want to or because they have to, or this is just the path that I landed in, right? I graduated college and my degree plan didn't work out or this didn't work out and I found myself in recruiting and I was good at it. So I chose to do it, and then I found out that I really enjoyed it. So
Yeah.
when I was retiring, I ended up going to work for a Department of Energy subcontractor, recruiting for them part-time, and then it turned into a full-time thing. I moved to Tennessee when I retired, kept that job, moved to another company, and that was pretty much all she wrote. I Recruiting is life for me now,
Yeah.
and I just absolutely love it every single day.
So, question, because I
So,
you get the wheels spinning on my end over here. In recruiting for like the army, is that, and I'm gonna ask a dumb question or two here, is that all like new people coming into the, like, new recruits? Is it kind of different types of recruiting? Like, I'm just curious, like, what that kind of looks like compared to, say, like the agency world type of recruiting. Yeah,
okay. So yeah, no, I know both worlds pretty well.
yeah,
And I would say that the military recruiting as a whole, and this probably isn't just the army, it's probably all branches. I've got friends that have retired or been in all branches of recruiting. And I would say that military recruiting makes for some absolutely amazing agency recruiters. And I
why's
say
that?
agency
Yeah,
specifically,
okay,
because you got to think about the dynamic of recruiting in the military. Our target market is not a group of people who have a certain degree or a certain experience set of skills.
yeah,
Our target market is an 18 to 25-year-old young person who is graduating high school, maybe in college, wants some adventure, whatever the case was, right? And we had to take those individuals and find them. So we had to go out and whatever means necessary, right? I had recruiters that they'd go to the YMCA and play basketball with young kids on the weekends
yeah,
just to talk to them, to generate that interest, and they'd make appointments, and before you know it, they had some people enlisting. But I say that because they have to go find everyone. It's like a sourcing. I don't want to go as far as saying a sourcing nightmare,
yeah,
but they become military recruiters become sourcing pros.
yeah,
They're always outside of the box thinking, which way do I need to go to find X, Y, or Z, right? Where do I need to find these individuals? Where are they hanging out? What kind of events are they going to be at? So on and so forth. And then once they get them, now it's not just convincing them or, helping them figure out that the military is a good path for them. Now they're also dealing with families and parents, depending on the cultural norms and other things. You may have to get permission from the parents for this individual to even be able to enlist or go take a test or whatever the case is, right? So military recruiting is super tough in the sense that they're hunting. So true meaning of like a headhunter, right? They got a target market. They know what they need to look for. Now go get it, right? Now take it to the agency side. Same thing. They still have to hunt those people down. Agency recruiters will become expert sourcers. They're going to think outside the box. I don't remember I was listening to a podcast or something one day about a guy that he couldn't get his candidate to respond or somebody he was interested in, couldn't get him to respond. He ended up going on some random dating site and creating a profile on this dating site with some random girl's picture just to get in touch with this guy. And at the end of the day, the candidate responded and he's like, look, man, if you're willing to go through that much to
yeah,
get me to talk to you, then let's have a conversation. And they get scrappy like that. It's, you get these agency, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, it doesn't matter. Those recruiters learn how to be scrappy, which, if you ask me, that's something an agency recruiter needs to be as well. But agencies have one thing the Army the military doesn't, I guess you can say. And that's, they have a specific set of skills that they need to look for each role. Whereas the Army, for instance, 100 plus jobs, 200 plus jobs, and as long as you score well on your test, you can fit into any of those. It's not a specific. So there's a couple differences, but they're both, I guess, relatively close.
Yeah. Really interesting. And I had a coffee meeting with a recruiter this morning. He's been in the Columbus area about 25 years recruiting, and he's thinking about, like, he joined a firm, they want him to build out a team, and he's, they assigned him a sourcer, and it didn't quite work out because he's like, he just, like, I think she sourced like 3 people in like 2 weeks, like 3. Like, I'm not just like sourcing, like selecting a list and making a list, like just 3 to hire to be a sourcer. And there's just 3 people. And it's, I mean, that's a pretty extreme example. And by all accounts, she was a nice lady and everything else, but it's just a deer in the headlights type look. And I think there is kind of, this is like the obvious kind of needs to hold true in the beginning when you're adding team members. Like, and you can tell in the first week, do they have the knack or the instinct to just do more, take like a mustard seed of knowledge and grow it pretty quickly. And I think that's the trait I've seen over and over again. As soon as I hear, oh, I need a LinkedIn recruiter seat, I'm kind of like, I don't know. I mean, it's like, look, LinkedIn recruiter can be nice, but if that's all you need and you have to rely on InMails, it shows me you haven't really trained or crafted around, I don't want to say intellectual curiosity, but just like curiosity and like going down rabbit holes and just like, to your point, getting scrappy and like grinding this thing out. Like, LinkedIn recruiter should be a extreme luxury that is like a no-brainer to get ROI on. But if that's all you're depending on, then I don't just feel like that's a red flag. Like, you're missing so much about the art of recruiting.
Right. Oh man, you hit it on the head. The art. There's the art. I just had a conversation the other day as well about this, but there's the art of recruiting and there's the science. Science, your KPIs, your numbers, like what you need to, the quantitative stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then you've got this art that a lot of, in my opinion, a lot of recruiters are lacking in that area. They don't know how to be, I guess the best way to put it is outside the box thinkers, right?
Yeah.
You tell me where to go. And I've dealt with some people that they're like, Mike, tell me where I need to find these people. Look, man, that's not my job. Your job is to go find them because that's what you said you can do. My job is to help you along the way if you need it. But that's where that difference comes into play. And I think one of the biggest issues is where a recruiter gets so used to having hundreds of applicants apply, all they have to do is screen resumes, versus a recruiter who has to go out and hunt for their food, right? Yeah. In our business, we only eat if we're catching food, right? For lack of better other words, I guess you can say, like, we only eat what we catch.
Absolutely.
So in the agency world, that's what we have to do, and we got to become good at that. So yeah, sourcing 3 people in a couple of weeks, I don't care who you are. That's just, to me, it's unacceptable.
I mean, I'm sure you could source 20 people on my next rant that I go on here as recording. I'm sure you'd find 20 people for the role that you're working on right now, right? So, I mean, yeah, there is just kind of, and they cut the cord early with that one and everything else, but it's just, there is kind of just the core basics. But then, I mean, there's other things that you mentioned that you and I talked about. I know you have like your humanity audit, and you're very adamant about the candidate experience. Right on your headline right now, it says the genuine recruiter, connecting that human and AI world. And AI has obviously been talked about ad nauseum the last couple of years. But kind of in your day to day, in terms of like the humanity audit and all that stuff, like, I don't know, let's just like dive into that a little bit more, because I know something that you care a lot about. And it's something that I hear recruiters struggle with, is like, how do I just give a candidate good candidate experience, especially if I don't have anything for them right now?
Right. No, it's definitely interesting, and I appreciate you going down that route, because what I've noticed, and like you said, AI has been kind of there's no shortage of people talking about it, and it's funny because if you really think about it, and you get into the weeds, AI is actually talking about itself, because you look at the amount of people that are posting and writing articles and other things about this stuff. I'd be willing to guess, or even maybe put money on it, and I'm not a betting man, that 70+% of people who are putting these articles out there are probably written by the same thing that they are trying to write about.
At
So,
minimum, I think. Yeah.
right. So you get these people that the AI is great, and I do love it. I love it. I use it all the time for certain things. But what I will not do it is, I always ask myself, by using this, how much of the human aspect of this role or this job am I pulling out of what's happening, right? AI is great as we called things in the military, combat multipliers, right? You got bombs, you got mortars that are going over your head to hit the enemy in front of you. Okay, combat multiplier, right? That's something that you have yourself, you have your team. Now you've got a little bit of something extra. So
Yeah.
you said LinkedIn Recruiter. LinkedIn Recruiter is that luxury, that extra, that multiplier. So what I always ask is, how do we take the love for AI and keep the human aspect in recruiting? And a lot of times we as recruiters, we have a tendency to really start getting overwhelmed to a certain extent by our leadership teams. And it starts, leadership from the top down, as it always does. And when leadership is breathing down your neck for performance, you're going to do more, right? I need volume. And for some, Clark, I'm going to tell you that is 100% agree. I don't disagree with them at all. You got a guy or a gal that's doing recruiting, and they need to fill a 1,000-person data center. Okay, look, you need volume and you need it quick. So leverage what you can. You may lose a little bit of the human aspect there because of the speed that you're actually working and what you have to do. Understand completely. But then you get a lot of those agencies that are doing direct placement. There is no reason why a recruiter should not spend quality time with the candidates that they're working with, that they're submitting. My goal, and I've got a few. I had two actually that interviewed yesterday, virtual, and they're going to have a in-person on Friday. So interview went well. The client has already requested to interview them again on Friday in person, tour the facility, meet the team, all that good stuff. And I would be willing to bet that if you reached out to either of them and asked them, hey, so-and-so, tell me your thoughts about Mike, I guarantee you that one of the first things they'd probably say was, Mike cares. And that goes a long way in our world today. I don't know what your experience are. You probably had a million more than I may. You've talked to a lot more people than I have as far as in the business goes. But you get those individuals that they build that relationship is gone, right? We become super transactional and we lose a lot of the relational aspects.
Yeah.
It's funny. My wife just came last night. I was on the call with somebody and she was like, man, you're really friendly with that person.
Yeah.
It's just, cutting up, shooting the breeze. And you got to get to know people, because as you do, you learn things about them, which in turn helps you when you have to negotiate, when you have to come back and they're expecting 120 and the company's like, look, I'm not going over 110. Well, now that relationship now changes things. It helps your negotiation. It helps with them listening to you. It helps with retention, because now they start working and you know who you're giving this client, right? So, I mean, I don't want to be super long-winded, but that human aspect is so important. And we as recruiters, we get so focused on automating things and we lose the human eye to eye, me and you kind of thing. Yeah. And I try to stay off the phones too. I prefer to jump on a video call. Hey, let's see each other. Let's build a relationship. I want you to see me and eventually virtually shake my hand and like say, hey, Mike, I'm here with you. We're going to go on this journey together and just help me through it. And I trust that you're going to do that.
So how many, like how do you draw the line between kind of building that rapport, kind of who you build it with? Because at some point we can't just talk to everyone and be everyone's best friend, right? So kind of like, how do you draw the line, right? Or within this like ecosystem or this parameter? I think that's because it's a question a lot of newer recruiters have, or people that are starting to do full desk. It's like they want to help everyone, right? But what are the layers of kind of investment, right? I guess how do you approach that piece of it? Because I think that's part of the nuance that I know some people struggle with.
Right. No, time investment is very important because in our business, most of us, I'm not on base. I don't have a base salary. I don't have anything. I'm straight up 1099. Like I said, I don't eat if I don't hunt. Right. So when that comes into play, I've got to look at these candidates, and to a certain extent, depending on the business that you're in, I would say you almost have to value the quality over quantity, right? So taking that time and seeing a resume for what it is, instead of AI scored this as a 50% match, right? When I see that resume, I may score it at an 80-90% match. There's certain AI sourcing tools out there. I'm not going to name any because I'm not trying to advertise for them. But there's a few sourcing tools out there that do just that, right? They make inferences based on what you as a recruiter tell it to infer about certain candidates or certain searches, and AI doesn't do a very good job of that by itself. Yeah. So we as recruiters, we've got to take that step and say, all right, look at this resume. This is not a great match, but good enough. Maybe I don't review any of them that are under 30%, but I review everything from 40% and up or 50% and up, right? You got to start somewhere. And then I'll look at these things and decide, all right, does this person, based on their skill set, based on their experience sections, do they match what I'm looking for?
Yeah.
Are the companies that they've worked for in line with where I'm trying to help them move to? So for instance, I guess an example would be, if I want to move somebody into a industrial manufacturing role, building massive scale machines, is it smart for me to take them from a company who they're in a high volume environment where they're building really tiny things, right? And I look at that and I'm thinking, well, these skills aren't going to correlate as much as I want them to. So I kind of go through the resume at first and figure out, does this person have that skill set? If they do, reach out. And when they respond, not everybody's going to respond. So when they respond, and I'm working right now in a platform that we just started in January, and I absolutely love it. But we're working at about a 40% response rate on emails being sent out. So figure 4 out of 10 people, I can conduct 4 out of 10 screenings at that point. And then it's a matter of, okay, basic requirements. Does salary work? And if it doesn't, it goes back to that human aspect of the relationship between that recruiter and that candidate, because salary doesn't work, but you got a good relationship with them. Your negotiation ability just went up, right? Because now I can tell Clark, hey, Clark wants 120. I could say, hey, Clark, I'm going to give you 110. The client wants to give you 110, and this is what you're going to get. I may know that you value your family time. I may know that you value a certain schedule, so on and so forth, right? So now I've got a better ability there. So I guess a long-winded answer to your question,
Yeah.
how do I select who gets that time? It's a multi-pronged approach, but at the end of the day, one, they got to meet the qualifications, and two, have a decent response, a decent chance of moving forward, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think the make it make sense, and I think the nugget, there's a few in there, but the big one, and it's just because it's like it's come up over and over, and I know we're talking a lot about kind of, for a lot of people would be the fundamentals, but it's what I see people missing the most right now is not sticking to the fundamentals. Almost with all this tech and AI, they're losing the fundamentals of the conversation, or even looking at the resume. The two I started in light industrial staffing. That's what I did for 5 years. If you rely on a resume in that world, you're screwed.
Right.
Because most of the time there is no resume. Then the other half the time it's not updated, right, or anything else. Like you have to have
So
just
true.
enough to make the call. And I think that's the lesson. I think a lot of recruiters have been really protected or really privileged with these tools and everything else to like avoiding the nitty gritty work of just like picking up the phone and figuring it out.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then in doing that a lot in the beginning, you kind of figure it out. You have to learn you're your own like savior in terms of being more efficient in terms of your recruiting desk. Like, but you have to
Right.
put in the reps to get more effective, to get more efficient. Like you can't bypass that piece of it. And I got a client now. If he listens to this, he knows who he is. But it's like like he places salespeople, and he's struggling with the like LinkedIn piece of marketing. It's like, how do I know if it's gonna what it's gonna lead to and all that? It's like sometimes you just don't. But you know when you
Right.
have evergreen content and you have enough sequences to the right people to the right messaging, you're gonna play enough of the quality numbers game that it's going to impact your business. I'm not telling him to turn off anything else that's worked for him, cold email, cold call, or whatever else, but figure out how to complement and layer your desk because you know your market's there, right? So if you just keep hitting them, but I think it's just like really meeting them where they're at and knowing that there can be a million different answers. Like you can't control everything, right? You can't control the response or the reaction or when you get the inbound lead or when someone responds to your outbound, but you can control doing it every day. And you can be honest with yourself. Like, am I
Right.
doing this intentionally in front of the right people? Like, am I just giving a call? I got a number and like 3 bullets that says maybe this person did this thing. And I can't tell you how many times this she as a recruiter, which I only recruited for 8 months at Aerotech and I got promoted, but like that is what helped me get there. It's just like I just got curious, like, and I made sense for me. And sometimes my screens went 40 minutes. To your point, when they told us to talk to candidates for 5 minutes at that level, and people are like, God, you can't do that, Clark, you can't do that. It's like next thing I know, I was just passing them on the spread list, just doing it that way. Especially because with those people, once you get them on the phone and you treat them right, then you get the referrals from those people, right? And they update you with their new number and everything else. And like you just kind of have that investment, right? And just like look into where is your time best spent. My manager kind of had to reel me in on that stuff at times, but like that's where she was a good compliment to me. And I think just having that
Right.
accountability is key too. But yeah, that make it make sense. Just like just go figure it out. Like go see if it makes sense and go make that
Right.
extra call because you just don't know. And if you don't do it, then you're at that level that of everyone else just not doing it, which is the majority.
Right. No, it's so true. It's so true, and that's what goes back when we talked. You asked about the humanity audit, right? That I've kind of been working with, and that's like the way to overcome some of that, and not necessarily with the marketing, but the way to overcome some of the ATS AI stuff, that's really happening is, the first phase of what I would tell a hiring manager to do is do what I call a black hole review. Okay. So the black hole review is essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the auto rejection logs from the last 30 days because you set it up in your ATS as, hey, if they don't meet these criteria, send them on their way, right? Not all companies do it, but there are a lot, and people complain about it
Yeah.
all the time. Hey, I applied, and 30 seconds later, I got an email saying I was no good, right? So step two of that is then take 5 of those candidates who were rejected solely due to lack of experience or maybe a nonlinear career path, something simple, right? Review their LinkedIn profiles, look for evidence of impact, right? Side projects. What did I do? I love one of the companies I have as far as one of the clients, they do a lot of 3D printing. So having somebody who is into 3D printing just as a hobby,
Yeah.
that's something that you can find that makes sense, right? So you look for those side projects, you look for rapid promotions in other industries, self-taught certificates, so on and so forth, right? And then what you do is if you find that more than 2 of these 5 candidates appear capable of doing the job, your filters, I'm
Are
just going to
off.
put it bluntly, your filters suck, right? They're set for compliance, not potential.
Yeah.
So in our business, if we lose that potential, we lose. I mean, think about how many candidates out there. If you did a deep dive into your ATS, just at that surface level, and you found out how many people were disqualified that you never even looked at, and then you got to see in between the lines that maybe they had some stuff there that you may be interested in, man, the amount of candidates that would be taken care of are just amazing. I couldn't even begin to count them.
There's a lot of low hanging fruit out there, and yeah, well, another recruiter I met with almost like was apologizing for going after he started a new job and went after all the low hanging fruit. He's like, and I unearthed like a ton of recs. I'm like, what are you apologizing to me for? I think a lot of people think of me as like marketing and new business. I'm like, one of the first things I see the first few posts do for a lot of clients that I've worked with that have history in this industry is they immediately get the low hanging fruit from just getting their content out there and staying top of mind from people they've known for 10 years, 5 years. Oh, I didn't know that's what you did. Or, no, I'm glad I saw you on my feed and that's what you're doing now. Like, we actually do need help. Like, low hanging fruit's a low hanging fruit if you actually go after it. And
Right.
and so there is, I think, that order of operations. And yeah, people are putting so much into these systems and these tools, and it's all kind of sitting right there, and just that reliance on AI doing the work for you. I think it can do an amazing job of aggregating and helping you sort some things and all that. But
Mm-hmm.
and the people that are using a trained eye with it, I think that's where I'm seeing a huge impact in productivity with people, and not just over relying on it, but just leveraging it as a tool to funnel up information quicker. But then you
Agreed.
still are
Agreed.
analyzing. Yeah.
Right.
So,
Right. And that's what I did. I did a research thing the other day about different platforms. Right. Chat GPT being great for writing and certain things, and Google Gemini being great for, you know, right now research. Hey, I need current data as quickly as I can get it. Then you see all these commercials now.
yeah.
Microsoft Copilot was all over the Super Bowl
Yeah.
commercials. You know, you're seeing all that stuff. So it's really, like you said, to aggregate everything to help you along, but you've got to keep the reliability away from it. You
Yeah.
can't rely on those tools, because you got to ask yourself all the time, well, what if? Or as my partner tells me all the time, he's like, Mike, so what?
Yeah.
Tell me the so what, right? Like, here's this and this. Now, so what?
Yeah.
And and I think about it sometimes, and I'm like, yeah, I guess it's just, fluff, if you will, because it doesn't really get me to answer that question. So yeah, no, I'm 100% on board with the AI as a tool, not a replacement of the human being, and that's where I think a lot of people lose things nowadays in our business, is they're letting these tools replace them as the human,
Yeah.
not the other way around, not the tool becoming a a thing to help them through their job.
Well, especially there's fatigue going on with that cold outreach. I can see it with messaging and content. Content was a big one last year, but I can see it in messaging, a tool. And when people use AI, they're like, "Oh, I write it, then I have AI clean it up." I'm like, you want it the other way around, because there's a tell on all the messaging stuff, and there's all fluff, and good copywriting and good messaging is short and concise, right? I was trained on the copywriting of you write the post and then remove 30% of the words, right? Then you have your
Right.
post and stuff like that. And yeah, it's kind of doing the opposite. So there's like fluff, even if it's for a sentence or two, that's like people are turned on to, that's it's AI or turning them off. So you have to be just cognizant too of how other people are leveraging it. If they're hitting up the people that you're doing outreach to, and they're also looking to use AI first, is that really helping you stand out? This is like, I'm having people have success just like sending voice memos, and there's tools that will automate your voice memos. I'm like, we're doing just enough to get some sort of reply, and then you follow up with a manual voice memo after you analyze that person's profile. And that's doing really well on the candidate side. I mean, really well on the business development side, because people are like, oh, I think I'm talking to a real human, for
Mm-hmm.
once. And so it's like, if you're
Mm-hmm.
looking for ways to connect with like hiring managers and all that, just let them hear your voice, right? And like have it
Right.
be somewhat customized to them, and not just automate a voice memo introducing yourself, right? But make it about them. And just that intentionality is doing a lot to
Right.
really increase reply rates and all that. So yeah, I mean, I know we got to wind it down, but not sure if you have any kind of last thoughts on that and kind of approach on messaging in general. If you've had some tips and tricks there kind of work better, because you mentioned like a 40% reply rate.
Oh, so well, I'll tell you this: the majority of my messaging is as personal as I can possibly make it.
Yep.
And I mean, you hit it on the head multiple times in just that little statement you just made about leaving a voice memo, those kind of things. The more we can personalize our messaging, the better it's going to be. And not everybody's going to do it, which is how those few people who do are going to separate themselves.
Yep.
That's part of what I want to be as the genuine recruiter. And I kind of dubbed myself the genuine recruiter,
It's all right.
just
You
not
give yourself a nickname. It's okay. We'll allow it.
not a
Yeah.
who I want to be, like I want people to know me as the guy who isn't going to give them any fluff, right? I'm going to be genuine. I'm going to come from the heart. I'm going to do this because I love people and I love seeing them succeed, right? So all of my messaging, from the subject line to the body of the email, even to the salutation at the end, right? Hey, cheers. Wishing you the best. Can't wait to talk to you. Not just respectfully, comma,
Yeah.
or best,
Regards.
comma,
Yeah.
regards, comma. Like,
Yeah.
come on, man. Like, you can do better than that, right? And then calling out something about them, right? Especially if I get your automations and you're sending this out to a million people. Okay. But if you're targeting a specific few people, 10, 20 even, take the extra time to really personalize your message, even from your subject line, instead of manufacturing opportunity, XYZ city, whatever, right? Now you high impact manufacturing opportunity. You've already looked at their profile, you know who they are. Put something in there that associates it with what they are doing
Yeah.
or what they know, because first line is the subject. If they don't want to open it based on your subject line, it doesn't matter what you put in the body of that email. It could be the best written email in the world. If your subject line does not get them to open it, it doesn't make any difference.
We'll get there.
So
Yeah.
personal, 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 as much as possible.
Yeah.
And I will tell you this, though, I got to give some credit to the platform that I'm using right now, because it does help with personalizing a little bit of that outreach as well. So there are some little tweaks, but I always, as you had said before, I always go back and double check and reword things so it's me at the end of the day. This may start the system, the platform may start it out, and then Mike goes back and rewords a lot of it, changes a lot of it up. I want it to sound like me, not a robot or
Yeah.
a computer that wrote it for me.
Absolutely. I think relevance for automation is what works really well, like being relevant, right? And that we're going to come through your list and your targeting, and then that personalized like follow up. And to your point, if you're really hunting, I mean, you can personalize some of the hunting approach there. And if you guys want to know the platform, you can message Mike. His LinkedIn URL will be in the episode summary. And Mike, I know we're winding down, so I just gotta say, appreciate you, being on here. This is great having you. Any last words of wisdom for the listeners?
I guess the best thing I'm going to say right now is keep it human. Don't forget that there's a living, breathing person behind every candidate, behind every resume. They're all going through certain things in life. They all have different backstories. They come from different cultures. Learn who you're talking to, learn people, read, learn emotional intelligence, learn IQ, learn a lot of this stuff that we're losing as recruiters.
Yeah.
Focus on the people aspect, and man, you would not believe how much more successful you will become because of just that simple human aspect of knowing people, knowing how to speak to them, knowing how to listen to them,
Yeah.
and then helping them accomplish that next goal of their life, which is the role that you're trying to get them to move into. So yeah, keep it human, and that's it, really. Don't lose the humanity in human.
Yeah.
Or the human in humanity.
Yeah, well, I think that is it. Yeah. I think that's well said. And you might not be the one that places them to the job, but you can point them in the right direction and keep them progressing there. And I think that's big as an agency recruiter. Like, we're not going to place every person we talk to, right? But can we make them better and give them better perspective on their job hunt and everything by the end of the call than they had at the beginning of the call? I think that to your point, you can do that. Then you do that consistently, daily, and you're gonna have a pretty big impact before you know it. So, Mike, appreciate you being on here. Make sure to connect with Mike on LinkedIn. URL will be in the episode summary. As I said, you can ask about that platform that he's using that he loves. And this is great conversation. And appreciate kind of sharing the differences with the military recruiting and the agency. And until next time, man, let's keep in touch.
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
All right. Well, make sure to follow, subscribe if you haven't already, hit that 5 stars, all that good stuff. And until next time, y'all, happy hunting.